Hi, I am Allie Camilletti, and you are listening to Snack Leadership. I will be talking about everything leadership, broken down into bite-sized pieces. You will hear what different leadership skills look like in organizations and how they can rise teams up or take them down. I help leaders build resilience and improve performance by bringing awareness to opportunity behaviors in my business. Spark your mindset. I provide leadership and sales coaching, as well as team building and guest speaking. My hope is for you to feel inspiration and to create a spark in your mindset. Hi, everyone. Today we are talking about confidence. Confidence is a feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey with confidence and then what that looked like in the hospitality industry for 30 plus years. And then we're going to talk a little bit about if you aren't feeling confident, what do you do? So we'll go way back. And I have always had a bit of this fearlessness. It came from childhood. It was just how I came out. And it was tried to be pushed down. Definitely in my younger years, I'd say 13 years, I had a step-parent that was very verbally abusive. And it messed with my psyche for quite a while. And I noticed when it came out, but I've done a ton of work on it. But there was still always this fearlessness that I had. And it's just part of who I was. I remember in my teenage years, they took me to therapy. Imagine that. And the therapist said, don't squash that. She's going to need that. And boy, have I needed it. Because confidence can be a little different than fearlessness, right? And when I think about just everything that has happened to me in my life, have I had moments of feeling totally not confident? Absolutely. Do I still have moments of not feeling confident? Yes, absolutely. Confidence isn't something that I believe that once you have it and it's across the board. No, not at all. I feel very confident in what I do as an entrepreneur. And sometimes things will creep in. I think of when I was looking at branding and I was talking to my friend about branding, and she's like, well, this is what you need to do to get followers, and this is what you need to do to get likes, and the social media piece, right? I was just like, I'm not buying into any of it because in the end, I don't really care. And I think that happens at an older age. Definitely the month that this will be aired is mid-December, which is my birthday month. Yes, I'm a Sagittarius. And I just really don't care necessarily what people think. They either resonate with me or they don't. And that's okay. I'm not here to judge them. And we're just people. We tend to judge. And when you think about confidence, like I'm sure you have found yourself before, like, oh, that person is overconfident, right? They're just all ego. And then you've looked at those other people that are like, they're not confident. I can hear it, right? I do listen to calls for the business that I do, reservation calls, and I'll hear their level of confidence and if it's there or if it's not, and areas we need to work on. And some of it is just repetition. The more they do it, the more confident they'll be at it. And so myself, having grown up in hospitality, which we will be just coming off of the Women's Summit when this recording airs. And I will speak about this in the presentation that I'm going to talk about. It's on self-care. But what comes up for me is growing up in hospitality. And so that fearlessness that came in at a young age basically put me into hospitality in a man's world, managing in my early 20s. And so my motto was fake it until you make it, because I had to be confident in that world. I do feel like hospitality has always been a man's world previously, and definitely when I was growing up in it. I mean, we're talking about early 80s that I was doing hospitality at the time. And I really had to show my confidence because I would have gotten kind of eaten up if I didn't show that confidence. They could smell it, and I wouldn't have gone as far as I was able to go. And so, was I always confident when I was doing it? No. Oh my. Like, my biggest memory is being down in the Bay Area. And this was mid 20s, I want to say. And I was managing at a restaurant, and it was a high end restaurant. And the servers were just so knowledgeable in everything. And I was so not knowledgeable in anything. I mean, going from Little Bend, Oregon to San Francisco, it was like going from McDonald's to a Michelin star restaurant. So out of my comfort zone. But it didn't stop me. I showed that I could survive in that world, and I worked my tail off. But there were so many times that I would go home just crying, just feeling beaten down by everything I was experiencing, because I was surrounded by people that were so much more knowledgeable than me. But my confidence came through me working hard, and that's hospitality, right? So I feel like that continued for sure. It was always about how hard I could work, how many hours I could put in. It wasn't until later in life, and I will say probably until my 40s, that I realized I can't do this like this anymore. It's just not working for me at this age. And this last 10 years, I've been able to ease into being confident in what I do and still having work life balance, which I think is so necessary in the hospitality industry, because often you can work a ton of hours. And I was talking with somebody about working in restaurants and how that was a thing. They would have younger managers because they would put in the hours. Whereas you get more seasoned people in the industry and they're like, I don't want to live this life. It's too much. And so I encourage you to look at that and find your balance. And it comes from that self care, having that level of balance that is so important so that when you show up, you can be the best you can be. When I think about what's the opposite of confidence, it's distrust, it's disbelief, it's confusion, awkwardness, hesitancy. I think awkwardness and hesitancy resonated with me most. I'm like, can I be awkward? Absolutely. Often I'll find somebody ask me a question and I'll go deep in my head, and I don't know if they're paying attention, but my head's spinning on things and it could look very awkward. But I will pause and I will kind of do that before I answer, because I really want to assess what I want to say. And that speaks to hesitancy, because I know that you and I have all experienced that, where we're overconfident and then something comes out of our mouths and we're like, oh, that wasn't really what I wanted to say. And so I've learned to kind of step back and pay attention to that. Now, the confidence that I have been able to achieve over the years, because I did have that spark early on, but I also had that environment at a young age working against me. I think it's just been digging in to who I am and who I want to be. And that's a lot of what I do with my clients. And the consistent outcome that I have found with clients when I'm doing leadership coaching and sales coaching with them is that they feel confident, because now they feel more knowledgeable. But it comes from us first, is who we are as humans. Yes, we can be confident because we go to college, we learn all the things, right? I had a degree in hospitality, but that didn't teach me everything that I needed to experience when I was feet on the ground. That just ensured that probably when I was trying to climb that corporate ladder, that I would be able to really get the jobs. And I feel like that's still a little bit of a thing out there in the workforce. Yet, for me as an entrepreneur, oh boy, I want to say I'm on 19 years of being an entrepreneur now. And there is something called imposter syndrome, right? If you're an entrepreneur, you're familiar with this. And it's the concept of feeling like you're an imposter. You don't really know it all. And what's the opposite of that? It's confidence. Yeah. And for me, it's sometimes of like, I'm not going to know everything. And that's okay. Do I know everything there is to know in business? No. Have I experienced a lot? Yes. Do I know everything there is to know about raising a child? Heck no. I had a good friend tell me one time, she's like, I think having a kid just messes with your self esteem. And I kind of laughed at the time. I didn't really have Chella yet, my daughter. And so I was like, huh, interesting. And now going through what I go through, I'm like, oh, now I know what she was talking about. Yeah. Because the minute you think you've figured it out with them, something changes. You're like, whoa, this is new territory. So there's different pieces to our life that we may be more confident in and less confident in. And that's okay. It's just part of life and growing, but it's also digging in and understanding yourself. I love something that I use with my clients. It's called positive intelligence. And one of the pieces for positive intelligence is looking at your pleaser. Being in hospitality, having the early childhood verbal abuse, I was a total pleaser, right? But it's also knowing those boundaries with the pleaser and being able to be confident when you say, actually, that's not going to work for me. And for the industry and vacation rentals that I work a lot in, it can be, our values don't match, whether it be an employee, sometimes a guest, or homeowners. But having that base, and I will take it back to faith, because do I know what's going to happen in my life in the next 10 years? No, I don't. Am I confident that whatever does happen is going to be for the best for me and my well-being and my growth? Absolutely. Yes. Whatever your faith is. For me, it's spirituality, God, Buddha, whatever it is. Having that faith and that confidence that how things happen do have a bigger ripple effect, and understanding that ripple effect. It can be really hard to look at that. I go back to like my first loss I ever experienced. And it was my first love passed in an avalanche. Oh, at 20. It was brutal. And it had a ripple effect. But part of the positive intelligence I went through was finding the gift out of really hard things. And it's hard to find gifts out of loss. Oof, it's hard. But what I was able to realize is that at that age, I thought I was going to go off to college and I was going to come back to Bend, Oregon, where I am now, and we'd get married and that's how it would be. That's really what I thought at that age. Well, when he was no longer on this earth, all of a sudden I was like, I'm not coming back to Bend. I'm going to college. I'm traveling. And I did. I traveled for about 7 years and then I came back to Bend. But that was where I got confident, even though life had kicked me good in the heart. And it changed me in so many different ways. And so continuing, life is going to do that to us. It is just going to kick us down and it's going to kick us sideways and up. And that's part of being on this earth. It's not easy, but it's about digging in and understanding ourselves and being confident in who we are, what we're put on this earth to do, to influence, to experience, and really leaning into it. So I encourage you, if you're listening to this today and you're like, yeah, I'm not really feeling confident, do the work. So I'm going to leave you with this quote. We gain strength, courage, and confidence by each experience in which we really stop to look fear in the face. We must do that which we think we cannot. By Eleanor Roosevelt. Thank you for tuning in to Snack Leadership. I hope you felt inspiration, motivation, and felt your mindset spark. Snack Leadership is recorded and produced by myself, Ali Camilletti, and music by Shireen Amini.